Daniel Carter had never believed in fate. At 35, his life was built on logic, routine, and quiet solitude. He worked as a book restorer in a small, tucked-away shop in Seattle, where time seemed to move slower between shelves of forgotten stories. Old books didn't ask questions. They didn't leave. They didn't disappoint, and Daniel preferred it that way. One rainy afternoon, while restoring a worn secondhand novel, Daniel noticed something unusual. A folded piece of paper, yellowed with age, tucked carefully between the pages. He hesitated before opening it, like he was about to step into someone else's memory. The handwriting was elegant, careful, personal. "My dearest Eleanor, I don't know if I'll ever find the courage to give you this letter, but loving you has been the most beautiful and terrifying thing I've ever known." Daniel paused. He kept reading. It was a love letter, deep, sincere, painfully honest, the kind of love most people never fully express. The writer spoke of missed chances, quiet moments, unspoken feelings, and fear. At the bottom, a name, Thomas, but there was no address, no date, no sign it had ever been delivered. Just silence. Before continue the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel for more kindness stories. Leave a comment to help me to improve my work, and if you like this story and know someone who is in love, share this story with that person. Let's continue. Daniel tried to put it back. It wasn't his story, but something about it stayed with him. That night, sitting alone in his apartment, he read the letter again and again. He found himself asking a question he couldn't ignore. Did she ever know? For the first time in years, Daniel felt something stir inside him. Not curiosity, but something deeper. Purpose. It wasn't easy. All he had were two names, Thomas and Eleanor. But Daniel was patient. Days turned into weeks as he searched through old records, library archives, and local histories. Slowly, pieces came together. Thomas Avery, Eleanor Whitmore, both had lived in Seattle decades ago. Thomas had passed away years earlier. Eleanor, still alive. Eleanor lived in a quiet care home on the edge of the city. He decided to go and talk to Eleanor. Daniel stood outside for a long moment, holding the letter. He wasn't sure what he was doing, or if he had the right to do it, but something told him this mattered. He walked in. Eleanor was sitting by the window, her silver hair softly lit by the afternoon sun. Her presence was calm, almost fragile, but her eyes were sharp. Daniel introduced himself, explaining carefully how he found the letter. When he said the name Thomas, something changed in her expression. A memory awakening. "I knew him," she said softly. Daniel handed her the letter. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The room fell silent as she read. Tears formed, but she didn't look away. When she finished, she held the paper close to her chest. "He never told me," she whispered. Her voice carried decades of quiet longing. "I loved him too, but I thought he didn't feel the same." Daniel felt his chest tighten. All those years, all that love, lost to silence. Eleanor smiled through her tears. "We were young," she said, "and afraid." She looked at Daniel. "Sometimes the hardest thing isn't loving someone." She paused. "It's saying it." Daniel left the care home, but something inside him had shifted. He couldn't stop thinking about it, about the letter, about the years lost between two people who loved each other, but never said it. And then he thought about his own life, the people he had let drift away, the words he had never spoken, the feelings he had buried under routine. For the first time in years, silence didn't feel safe. It felt heavy. Days later, Daniel returned to see Eleanor, but this time he didn't just bring the past. He brought something else. "Would you like to visit the place where you met him?" he asked. Her eyes widened slightly, and for the first time there was a spark of excitement. They went together, a small park bench by the water, the place where it all began. Eleanor sat quietly, holding the letter. "I waited for something that never came," she said gently. Then she smiled, "But somehow, it still found me." Daniel sat beside her, not speaking, just present. Before he left, Eleanor looked at him and said, "You didn't just deliver a letter." She paused. "You gave a story its ending." That night, Daniel did something he hadn't done in years. He picked up his phone. and called someone he hadn't spoken to in a long time, because now he understood something deeply. Love doesn't disappear, but time does.